Hi, my name is Florencia and I'm the gallery coordinator and curator at Peace Gallery North. And today we're going to be interviewing 5 local artists. Our first artist is Mike Crosher. He's from Fort St. John. He has been here for over 35 years and he paints in acrylic and oil. He's a master of oil and gets inspired by nature.
Most of my paintings that I do, I get kind of inspired by what I see out here. We live out in Charlie Lake, and our house, from our house we can see the Peace River Valley and of course Site C, which I don't like. And so I try to show the colors and of the valley, the beauty of the valley. Because once Site C is completed, much of that beautiful valley will be gone forever, destroyed. Without wanting to be too critical, I think Fort St. John doesn't really appreciate the importance and the beauty of art. Lots of people don't. Life isn't all that easy here. You know, people come in, work for a while, and then they get a different job somewhere else and they move on. And I think the arts are mostly appreciated by people who live here and enjoy living here and stay here, you know. If you look at my paintings, most of them show the Peace River or Peace River landscapes, you know, and that's the topic I like. I know best, and I like to paint what I know. I like most of my paintings. You know, sometimes it happens I'm not happy with the painting. That painting does not enter this gallery. Then I burn it. And since I use oil paints, these paintings burn really well. It's a pleasure to see something that I don't like go up in flames. I think the arts are very, very important, largely underrated. You know, if we look at human beings and our human behavior, we are ruthless, collectively as human beings, we're ruthless and brutal. And we can't even make peace with within our own species. Look at the war in the Ukraine. Human beings often look to brutality to solve problems. And the arts shows us that we have a better quality. You know, arts we share our opinions. Our earliest ancestors, as far back as they were able to walk on 2 legs, developed the arts. It's part of the human being, of our culture, which has been a little bit neglected. We need to focus more on arts because it shows some of the better qualities that we all have.
Our next artist is Sona Tremblay. She's a retired teacher from École Centrale. She taught there 21 years and she's a multidisciplinary artist. She gets inspired by nature, travels around the globe, animals, and everyday life.
I came here in 2000 as an art teacher in a French immersion school. And I was coming for a few years, but finally, 22 years later, I'm still here. And I did retire in 2021. So I've been teaching arts with little kids, starting from kindergarten to grade 6. And I was teaching like about 300 students every week. They were coming in my classroom, and I enjoyed doing that. But after 21 years, I decided that now it was time for me to do arts, because when I was teaching, I didn't have time, or I didn't have the energy or whatever. So I took a pre-retirement, and I decided to start a new career as an artist. And I like to call myself a late artist. The direction of my art come to do mask in pottery in clay because it was mostly for the fact that I love mask and the signification of mask, and also because I could add element to it and adorn my mask with different things. Especially when I was traveling, I was bringing back fabric and jewelry and things like that, and I like to use this stuff on my mask. When I was traveling, I was seeing masks of different culture, and masks represent different things, you know. It's for hiding things, or also because I was also a drama teacher, and using masks is something that hide your shyness, or just for the beauty of the mask, the texture of the mask, how they are made. And I was carrying or buying these masks from other countries, and then I think I could start doing that, but my own way of doing masks, and this is how I start doing masks. I also do watercolor painting for other reasons. It's an art medium. I'm still learning with that, but I do like doing a watercolor. And also, I start recently, well, this was a discovery actually. I started doing encaustic art. Well, this art form blew my mind when I saw that, because it was everything I like to do, which means incorporating different things in my artwork. Because with the beeswax painting, you can glue things, you can do collage, and the limit is, the sky is the limit for that. I don't have a style right now. I'm still practicing different techniques. I'm learning a lot of things, but I enjoy it a lot. I have a lot of fun with that medium, and I'm producing like I never did before. So it was a good thing to retire while I'm still in good health. You never know what life could happen to you, especially when you're getting older. You're not getting younger.
Our next artist is Sandy Trout. She's a longtime resident in Fort St. John. She's a member of the Federation of Canadian Artists. She's mainly known for acrylics, mixed media, and a variety of printmaking processes. She gets inspired by surrounding and natural beauty of the Northeast.
My style of art, well, okay, I would say it's, well, I use acrylics, and it's kind of impressionistic. For the most part, I do diverge into other types of work. Like, I am very interested in pure abstract art, in abstracting the landscape and animals or whatever else. And I think I would call myself a multidisciplinary artist. My primary interest is acrylic painting, but I also am a printmaker, and I have also worked with other mediums, but those are the two that are the most important to me at this time. Well, we came here in 1974 for 1 year and fell in love with the people, our jobs at the school district, and mostly, or not mostly, but as in addition, the beautiful surroundings. We both loved the outdoors, spent most of our free time out on the rivers, the lakes, the mountains, on horseback, in boats and whatever. It had everything here that we like to do, and it feels like we're at the edge of the wilderness because it's wooded all around us, and we have lots of wildlife entering the yard, and it was just perfect for us. Well, I would say mostly just the beauty of our surroundings. I don't only paint landscapes though. You know, I paint wildlife and I paint, I will call them my rather crazy paintings, very abstracted. But, you know, you can't help but be moved when you're out, you know, around the region. I particularly like trees. It seems like they're just on the hillsides, just falling off the hillsides, wanting to be painted. You know, they kind of give you a feeling of the spirit and beauty of this region, you know. So they are usually the main characters in many of my paintings. I would say how absolutely thrilled we are that the city is considering building this artistic hub. We have made do with places for us to gather and work and learn in a number of places over many years. And we have so much potential here in Fort St. John, and we feel we have all the resources to become, well, we are actually the printmaking hub of the North. And that goes for Canada. We really are. There are people here who have the skills and expertise to teach printmaking in many, many, many different processes. And, you know, possibilities are endless. We see other art groups joining in and perhaps offering classes. But the hub, we have a place, or we'll have a place to work. And there's no barriers. You know, we have people who are willing and able to organize and teach and bring people in. This is going to be wonderful. I've always been impressed with the vitality of the people who are actually involved in the arts, the interest in learning, the willingness to sort of go out of the way to promote art. With adults, with our group members, and also with children. And there's such an atmosphere of wanting to learn, and also willingness to share what any of us have learned, to share with others, anybody who would like to learn. As we always met together a lot more, of course, before COVID. And everybody was welcome. It didn't matter whether you were a bare beginner or had some experience. So a beginner was welcomed with open arms, and there was somebody in the group who could always manage to answer a question. If somebody needed a little help or a little mentoring, it's just very inclusive. And I've always thought, well, you know, if we ever moved, I could find another art group. But I wouldn't find one as wonderful as this.
Kenneth Lane was born in the UK and moved to Canada at 13 years old. He is a photographer, painter, and drawer. He is a self-taught artist that is part of Flying Colours Artists Association, and he was awarded the active status with the Federation of Canadian Artists.
I moved here in 1995 with my wife Angela. We came up here for work, and so lived here ever since. And yeah, it's turned out to be a fantastic place to be. The people, and there's lots of opportunity up here. The people are fantastic. All of the outdoor pursuits are wonderful. There's lots of great places for hiking and biking and just being outdoors. So it's right on our doorsteps. Right now, we have our Flying Colours Artists Association group, and there's a whole eclectic range of people there that sort of paint and sculpt and do printmaking and fiber arts and pretty much everything else that you can imagine. So it's all fun because everybody collaborates and works together. Everybody encourages each other, and we all learn from each other. So as far as the arts community goes, I'd say it's really strong and really interesting. I just hope that people here can, appreciate what is to offer in this region and stop by the art galleries, whether they be here or Dawson Creek or Grand Prairie, but take the time to go and look because there's a lot of talent here. One of the artists I admire is Kelly Corbett on Vancouver Island. Her style and realism really sort of captures, really. But British Columbia, and there's so many great artists to sort of follow and admire that, yeah, that could be an endless list, absolutely. But I draw inspiration from people that are truly great artists, and sort of just shows what's achievable, and kind of gives a person something to work towards. I like to paint fairly realistic, so it's more realism, I would say. Everything that I am inspired by comes from nature. So I love the great big skies that we have here, and the ever-changing seasons. We have lakes and rivers and mountains and wildlife to explore. So yeah, there's no end of inspiration here. I like to represent like actual places around here. Like usually it comes from a specific location or the local wildlife that thrives here. Some of the local architecture is kind of interesting, like old grain elevators or things like that kind of tell a story as well as like historical. Like I did a piece of our old hospital that isn't here anymore, because it had this big beautiful garden in the front. So that was kind of an interesting subject. And like I said, some of the stuff, an old farm, rural kind of scenery as well, because of the stories that it tells. So that's also inspiring and interesting. I've always been drawn to doodling, coloring, sketching, painting, and it's kind of evolved into a more formalized process of learning how to really capture some of the beautiful things that we see outside. So it's just sort of gradually progressed through time to where I am today. But I've got a lot to learn, and I enjoy that journey. So I like it because it's so challenging. It's something I don't think a person ever truly masters something like this. There's always more to learn, and yeah, so that's kind of what draws me into this.
Our final artist is Miep Bergeron. She's a founding member of Flying Colors Association, and she does multidisciplinary art. Her muse and amusement, it's right outside her backyard, so she gets inspired by nature.
I have lived in Fort St. John. It'll be 40 years this September, and I was came up here 40 years ago after applying for a job teaching, and I ended up in a tiny 2-room school up the highway in 101, and it was my first teaching position, and it was going to be for 1 year, and here I am 40 years later. There's so much freedom. It's quiet, there's no traffic, the people are interesting and genuine, and it just felt like a new country. It's so different from Vancouver. I have been a teacher and I've always been creative, and I have to say that my art style evolved continuously once I retired from teaching. I learned so much, and my neighbor is a professional artist, and she taught me so much, and my art education, my formal art education, has all been gleaned up here from my peers and from the internet. So I haven't had to venture very far off, and it has really evolved. I started with watercolor painting to acrylic painting and added some lino cuts, and had an affair with other types of printmaking. And then COVID, that was 10, 15 years ago, and then COVID hit 2 years ago, and I was left all by myself and nobody to push me to do things. And I discovered, and because I like to play outside a lot, I was playing on the internet, and I discovered botanical printing, or also called eco-printing. And a lot of the eco-printers also make their own felt from wool fiber to eco-print on. And I'm in heaven, and I haven't looked back. Gave my paints away, gave my canvases away, and now I have a fiber studio, and I make my felts in the winter, and I print in the summer when I can make a mess outdoors. And it sits well with my passion for eco consciousness and the environment, because both these practices, I hope, leave a lighter footprint than using acrylic paint on plastic canvases and that sort of thing. And I hope the chemical processes involved are kinder to the earth, and I source my wool carefully and as locally as I can, and from happy sheep, so I can feel better about what I do. This is what it starts out with. This is wool that has been washed. Mostly, there's still some little bit of vegetable matter in it, but that's fine, especially for what I do. And it's been carded and then placed into a bat. Sometimes I use roving, which is when all the fibers are laid in a specific direction. So when you needle felt or you felt with, you add colors, you're using a lot more of the rovings. So I just think it is so magic that with a little bit of soap and water and a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, physical labor, which I also like. It's better than sitting on an easel all day. You can create something incredibly strong and light and easy to move around. I just love it. And I can crumple it up and take it to a show and set it up and it'll be fine. It's just magical. Every time I do it, it is just magic, no matter what I make. It's a functional art as well as an ornamental art. So, and I like that. You can make slippers and mittens and dresses and coats, anything. But those are tricky because wool shrinks when you work it. And if you're not familiar with the type of wool or your process, it can shrink in directions that you did not intend. So to get it to actually fit is tricky. And those felt artists who make garments are very talented. I'm still learning. I've made a few and I contemplated wearing one today, but it wasn't quite good enough, so I didn't. Next time. And it also takes a lot of energy, and a lot of it is repetitive energy to create the felt. You're doing a lot of rolling and massaging of the wool, so you have to take lots of breaks or play music that's slow, because if you go too fast, you're not going to feel too well in the evening. Everything will hurt. I get a lot of inspiration from fellow felt artists online and from nature. I live on a quarter section of hayland and boreal forest with a creek with beavers and critters, and I spend a lot of time outside taking pictures and just watching the critters and absorbing the aromas and the textures. And yes, so I always say that my art and I live in art because I live in nature. It's great. Right outside the door is the natural world. It's great. Well, I could certainly put a plug in for Flying Colors Artists Association, because we take anybody who does anything, who loves to just come and work together, because we all learn from each other, and the ability to just sit together, even if we're just talking about what we do, sends sparks into all kinds of other ideas and creates whole new pieces and whole new ideas and collaborations that are amazing. And I think given the quality of art that's coming out of Fort St. John right now, I really do think that our council needs to have a really good look at how we can be supported, because right now Flying Colors Artists Association really doesn't have a good place to work. We used to work in my studio out in the country, which had no bathroom, and I had to carry all the water in and out. And then when COVID came along, we didn't meet there anymore because the ventilation is very poor. Well, there isn't any. But now we're getting together again. We have new members, but we're in a little room right next door to the gallery. And it's not quite adequate for storing all our equipment and for housing the number of people in our group that sometimes come together for workshops. So yeah, a little bit more support and a little bit of being in the limelight and putting a sign on the highway that there is a gallery in Fort St. John would be fabulous.
Thank you for watching, and I want to invite you all to visit Peace Gallery North, where you can immerse yourself in the vibrant and diverse art scene of the local artists. We pride ourselves on showcasing the extraordinary talent of our community, and we are excited to share it with you. Visit our social media if you want to know more.